the night my dead fiance came back for me, the Deacon of Myrká.
My name is Guthrún. You might know me as the girl from Myrká, the one who vanished into the night, the one they say was taken by the dead, if they remember me at all. Myrká, fjords, Iceland, year 1670. I still remember the snow that night. It didn't fall softly like lace. It slashed across the fjord like 1,000 knives, turning the world into a silent, white battlefield. I still feel the cold in my bones when I close my eyes, the hush of the river, the taste of iron in the air, the echo of hooves on ice, and the horse, always the horse. I was just a girl when my mother began her stories. In the long nights when the wind howled through the turf roof and the candles flickered like frightened eyes, she would pull me close. She spoke of the drauga, restless dead who rose from the earth, carrying their broken promises and hunger for warmth. She said they wore their burial clothes, still damp from the grave. She warned me about the elves too, hidden folk who could steal your voice, lead you into the snow, and leave you singing songs no one understood. On darker nights, she described the huldufolk, watchers in the hills who envied the warmth of humans and crept down to the farms in midwinter. Her hands, cracked from the river water, trembled as she spoke. She would tell me to never follow a voice calling my name after midnight, and above all, never say God's name in vain when you feel the deep cold. It might draw something you couldn't send back. But when you're young, you believe you're invincible. You think love is stronger than any ghost. When Paul first came to our village, he looked like a figure from an old saga, tall, strong, eyes deep as the fjord. He carried a hymn book in one hand, a lantern in the other, always casting shadows on his sharp cheekbones. I first saw him during the harvest festival, under lanterns strung across the square. The music was wild, the air thick with the smell of roasted lamb and pine smoke. We danced once, his hands so steady on my waist, his breath warm against my ear. At that moment, I forgot every warning my mother gave. After that night, he would visit my family's farm, bringing small gifts, carved wooden animals, a silver hairpin, dried flowers from the high meadows. Each gift felt like a promise that I would be safe, that love would protect me from the night. By the third winter, he asked me to marry him. He said he would build us a home beyond the river, a place where the wind couldn't reach us, where laughter would fill every room. I said yes. I thought I was saying yes to life. The winter he promised to come for me was the cruelest anyone could remember. The fjord froze solid, trapping fishing boats in place like toys in ice. Our windows bloomed with frost patterns that looked like spiderwebs or ghostly runes. I sat by the hearth each night, clutching my crimson ribbon. I sewed it into my cloak so he would recognize me in the dark. Every stitch was a prayer, that he was alive, that he was strong enough to cross the river, that love could guide him home. But the village spoke in hushed voices. They said he fell through the ice on his way to fetch me. They said his horse returned alone, eyes wide with terror, its mane tangled with riverweed. I refused to listen. Each night I pressed my ear to the wind, listening for his footsteps. I whispered into the darkness, promising him I would wait no matter how long. And then, on Christmas Eve, as the moon rose above the mountains like a cold eye, I heard it. A knock. Not loud, not urgent, gentle, almost shy. My heart lifted and nearly tore itself apart. When I opened the door, there he was, his face pale, his hair dusted with snow. The hat was pulled low, hiding his eyes. His breath did not mist in the cold. He lifted his hand, silently beckoning. I stepped outside without a word. His horse waited, darker than a moonless night, its breath steaming like smoke from a dying fire. I climbed behind him. My hands touched his sides, and I flinched at the chill beneath his coat. It felt like touching a stone left at the bottom of the river. We rode in silence, the hooves echoing like war drums on the frozen earth. The village disappeared behind us, swallowed by the snow. I heard the river before I saw it, whispering curses and secrets, its ice crust shifting like the scales of a living creature. At that moment, my mother's voice returned, thin as a spider thread. Never follow the dead into the dark. But love had already blinded me. We reached the churchyard just as the sky began to pale. He dismounted first, movement slow, stiff, as though his bones had forgotten how to bend. When he turned, moonlight spilled across his face, hollow cheeks, sunken eyes like pits in a glacier. His lips cracked open, revealing teeth stained with river silt. My breath caught in my throat. My knees threatened to buckle. I wanted to speak, to call on God, to call his name, but the words withered on my tongue, turning to dust before they could escape. He reached for my ribbon. The moment it tore from my cloak, a shock tore through the world. His figure trembled, pieces flaking away like old parchment. He crumbled into the air, carried off in a swirl of frost and ash. I fell into the snow, gasping, my heart hammering so loud I thought the earth might split. They found me hours later, half buried in the snow, skin the colour of candle wax. They said I was muttering in a language no one understood. Some claimed it was Latin, the language of priests and demons. Others believed it was the tongue of elves, or of the drowned. They carried me into the church and laid me before the altar. The warmth of the hearth felt like fire on my skin. My eyes wouldn't close. I stared into the rafters, convinced I saw shapes watching from the beams. Long fingers, pale faces, all silent and waiting. After that day, no one looked at me the same. Mothers would cross themselves when I passed. Children would dare each other to touch the hem of my cloak, then run away, shrieking. Old men muttered that I was a vessel now, a bridge between the living and the dead. They took my ribbon and hid it in the church's inner chamber. Rumours spread that it wept each night, drops of brackish water staining the stone floor. Some claimed they heard whispers coming from it, promises of love or threats of something far worse. I returned to my mother's cottage, but it no longer felt like home. The walls seemed to breathe at night. Shadows slipped under the door, curling around my ankles as I tried to sleep. The candles I lit sputtered and turned black at the wick. I stopped speaking to neighbours. Even the friendliest souls began leaving offerings at my door. Salted fish, sprigs of juniper, iron nails. They believed these gifts would keep me from crossing their thresholds. Perhaps they were right. As the winters dragged on, I aged before my time. My hair turned the white of wind-blown snow. My joints creaked like old ship masts. But my nights only grew more crowded. I heard his horse each year, first on Christmas Eve, then later on Midsummer, and eventually every full moon. The hooves echoed through the valleys, waking the dogs, setting the crows to flight. Sometimes I saw him at the window, just beyond the glass. his face pressed close, breath fogging the pain though he drew no real breath. I learned to keep the shutters barred, but somehow the cold always found me. Children dared each other to circle my cottage at night. They'd chant my name, call me the bride of the river, swear they saw pale fingers clawing at the door from inside. One boy claimed he saw me standing disrobed in the snow, arms outstretched to something only he could see. He never spoke again. Dreams haunted me more fiercely than any spirit. In them I stood on the riverbank, clothed in my burial gown. The ice split beneath my feet, opening like a hungry mouth. I saw myself slip beneath, the cold closing over my hair, my hands. I saw Powell there too, waiting beneath the water, his arms open, hair waving like seaweed. He looked as he did on that first festival night, young, bright-eyed, smiling. But when I stepped closer, his face split open, revealing a cavern of shadows. Other times, I saw the village long after I was gone. Children with no eyes playing in the snow. Villagers dragging nets from the river, pulling up bodies tangled with ribbons and wedding veils. A church bell tolling endlessly with no one to ring it. I woke screaming, my throat raw, my sheets soaked in icy sweat. The cold clung to me even when the summer sun rose high above the fjord. In the village, they began to tell new versions of my story, each more twisted than the last. Some say I died that Christmas Eve, that I was never found, only a pile of snow shaped like a girl. They claim they buried me beside Paul, and that we ride together each winter, calling out to lonely souls. Others say I live still, but I am no longer human, that I became a draug, a revenant bride who knocks on doors and calls lovers into the snow. That if you see me in the fog, you must never answer, or you will be lost forever. A few insist I return to the river, and each spring, when the ice breaks, you can see a woman drifting just beneath the surface. Her eyes open, her hands reaching upward as though she's still waiting for someone to pull her free. Then there are those who believe I never existed at all, that I am just a story whispered by firelight to scare children indoors before dusk. But if that were true, why does the ribbon still weep? Why do the dogs still howl each Christmas Eve? Tonight the air is different, heavier. The snow falls sideways, whispering secrets. I feel him more clearly than ever before, his presence wrapping around the cottage like a second skin. I hear the horse snorting, the slow scrape of hooves. The knock at the door is no longer gentle. It booms through the walls, rattling the old beams. I light my final candle and draw a circle of salt around my chair. My hands shake as I hold the iron nail my mother gave me long ago. I hear his voice now, calling my name with tenderness that scrapes at my ribs. I know I should resist. I know I should stay silent, but my heart is a traitor. It beats not for life but for him. Perhaps tonight I will finally answer. Perhaps tonight the circle will break, and I will step out into the snow, into his arms, into the river's mouth.
So, what do you think? Is it love that binds us beyond death? Or a hunger older than ice, deeper than the fjord? Let us know your theories down in the comments. We read them all, even the ones you write in the dark. And if you felt that shiver run down your spine tonight, hit that like button, subscribe, and step into the shadows. Stay spooky.